The Fine Five and the Ugly Five. It's the final edition of the Fine Five and the Ugly Five. These are the five best and the five worst at the end of the regular season. Which way should we start? The Uglies or the Fines this time around?
Let's go with the Uglies.
Ugly Five right here.
Draft order set, by the way. Top 20 teams. They all know their draft slot.
Yeah, and, this is based more on a lot of the way these team seasons went. All right?
The big picture.
The big picture. Number 5, San Diego. They won 4 games this year. They were just crushed by injuries. This is a team, like, if you're telling me ranking disappointment, San Diego made the playoffs last year, Pete. They won 4 games this year. Injuries, just a huge factor. In fact, Mike McCoy's name was mentioned being fired. I think he made it past Black Monday today.
He's safe.
If he was available, if I was the Eagles, I would be interested.
He's another one of those offensive minds, kind of a quarterback guru, I guess.
Done a good job out there with that team, but you can't overcome the amount of injuries. They're number 5, and they only won 4 games, yet I have them below San Francisco, who won 5 games somehow this year. They fired Jim Tomasulo. Just a mess of a team out there. The whole offseason that they had led to this. They fire Harbaugh. They hire a guy who's just not equipped to be the head coach of the football team. Chip Kelly should be and probably will be the next head coach in San Francisco. They're number 4.
Yeah, I think that's a logical landing spot for Kelly. He should be interested in that job. They have a top pick. They have a mobile quarterback. He knows the West Coast. Should be a logical landing spot there for Kelly.
They were awful offensively this year. They only scored 238 points. Number 3, Dallas. Look, Dallas, I get it. If Romo plays, they're a different team. But it's inexcusable to not win games because your quarterback went out to have your season. All they had to do was be somewhat competent, and they would have been in the mix. Now, keep in mind, it benefits them because they get a better draft pick now. They're going to pick in the top 5 because of it and then get Romo back next year. But they were a disaster this year. They were an absolute dumpster fire all year long. The sad part is one of their 4 wins came against Philadelphia.
Yeah, that's one of the sad. And it was without Tony Romo.
Partially.
In week 2.
Partially.
Yeah.
Number 2, Tennessee. Here's an interesting situation in Tennessee. You know, Mariota's there. Kelly's available. It seemed like the obvious possibility. So rumors came out that Malarkey was going to keep the job, right?
Yeah.
So what? The GM got fired today?
The GM
It was
got
like, hey,
fired
you want to
today.
keep this guy as the coach? Guess what? You're fired. So I think keep an eye on Chip Kelly going to Tennessee, Chip Kelly going to San Francisco. If you're Chip Kelly, you want to work with Mariota or Kaepernick?
Obviously Mariota.
Yeah, they won 3 games this year with Mariota. He got hurt. He missed a couple of games in there. They
First
just weren't a
overall
very good
pick
team.
now.
And now they have the first. Who's the number 1 overall pick? I would have no clue.
I don't have any. I know it's not going to be a quarterback. I know the kid from Ohio State, the Joey Bosa. He's a big name. He's probably going to get picked, top pick there.
Cleveland's number 1, 3-13. Johnny Manziel being on your team makes you, by proxy, the worst team in the league. They gave up 154 points more than they scored this year. It was the worst ratio in the league. I said it 2 years ago, don't draft Manziel. He's going to be a complete bust. He's been more than that. He's been not even a bust. He's been an absolute embarrassment and a joke of your organization. They are the number 1 team in my Ugly 5.
And they fired Mike Pettin. They fired Ray Farmer. So they're
the Browns are very good at not waiting till Black Monday. They just pull the Band-Aid off. I give them credit. Just rip that Band-Aid right off and get it. Let those guys go to bed not worrying about their morning. Just tell them before they go to bed at night, you're out. You're fired.
Talk about continuity. I mean, they've had Shermer in there. They've had Chazinski. They've had Pettin. Now they have a new coach.
They hired a new GM already.
Years. Yeah. Oh, yeah, they did. It's I think it's an analytics guy.
Yeah, the guy from Jacksonville. All right, here's my Fine 5. These are the 5 best teams going to the playoffs, and these are the way I rank them to win the Super Bowl. Number 1, Cincinnati. Number 5 is hard, Pete, because I don't know who's playing quarterback in Denver.
I think it's going to be Peyton Manning. I think Kubiak's almost forced to go with Peyton Manning here.
I didn't take a team in the North. Minnesota, by the way, when I did who's in, who's out, I picked Minnesota. I took Carolina all year long. Who's in, who's out, I took Houston. They ended up beating Indianapolis there. So Cincinnati, I don't know what's going on with Dalton, but I'll take them with their defense over Denver. I'll take them over Minnesota. I'll take them over Green Bay. I'll take them over Washington. I take them over Houston. Number 4, I went Seattle. I think they're turning it on at the right time. Right now, I'll take Russell Wilson over the quarterbacks on those teams I just mentioned. Number 3, I'm going Brady. I'm going New England. They got a lot of injuries. They were lucky to get that bye. They needed that bye.
They got the number 1 seed. Or you're talking about New England.
New England, 2 seed, but they did get the bye. They needed it. Though. If New England didn't get the bye, I don't know that they're in my Fine 5. That's how important that was to them.
And they're kind of backing into the playoffs. 2 straight losses. I know they get the bye, but they got to get some of these guys healthy.
Number 2, Arizona. And number 1, Carolina. They are the NFC Championship game. I think that'll be your matchup.
Now, you left off Pittsburgh. Very curious.
Pittsburgh,
and Kansas City. They've won 10 in a row.
I like Kansas City a lot. In fact, I would have Kansas City probably as my 6th team right now. I went with Cincinnati if Dalton plays. If not, Kansas City might be the next team. And keep in mind, Minnesota won 11 games this year.
Yeah, and they won the NFC North finally. Last night.
They did. Yep, they did. They beat an uninspired Green Bay team there.
But McCarron could have to, he might be forced to start that wild card game against Pittsburgh.
If Andy Dalton doesn't play, and we did my Fine 5 on Friday, I'd probably switch Kansas City. I'd probably put Kansas City in.
And they have an easy matchup there against Houston. That's a winnable game for Andy
Let me tell you
Reid.
about easy matchup in Houston.
As we know.
They've given up 8 points a game. 8.
Still a very winnable matchup for Andy Reid.
8 points a game.
Playing Pittsburgh.
You know, we talked about all these divisions, how bad they were. Houston won 9 games. Washington won 9 games. No team made the playoffs with less than 500 records. And all is well in the world today.
You like that.
All right, Kirk Cousins. When we come back, plenty more on this Monday edition. Good to be back. Mike Gill and the Sports Bet. Sixers tonight against the T-Wolves on 97.3.
Eviction notice?